The hatch swings open and you float into a tunnel network that feels more like a well-organized toolbox than a spaceship. The US segment runs through Unity, Destiny, and Tranquility, with Europe's Columbus and Japan's Kaibo branching off like bright, humming classrooms. Russia's Zarya and Zvezda anchor the other side, older but stubbornly reliable. Every surface carries something important: cables, laptops, filters, stowage bags. So you learn quickly that unused space is a myth and drifting is never casual. Up and down don't exist here. Nadir and Zenith do. Handrails tell your hands where to go long before your inner ear agrees. The station keeps time in GMT. The clock says 06 no sir, and that's the start of your day, even if Earth has thrown 16 sunrises under your window since yesterday's breakfast. The timeline in your schedule is tight, carved into 5-minute blocks by teams in Houston, Tsukuba, Oberpfaffenhofen, and Moscow. You don't follow it because someone loves control. You follow it because it deletes the one thing that melts morale in a sealed habitat: boredom. Morning hygiene is practical and fast. There's no shower, so you warm a cloth, add no-rinse soap, and convince water not to run away from your skin. It doesn't drip, it hugs. You angle a pouch, squeeze a pearl of water onto your toothbrush, and accept that spitting is not an option. Clothes stretch into long tours of duty, then retire to a cargo ship that will burn to ash in the atmosphere. Nothing returns to Earth if it doesn't have to, and nothing floats if it isn't tethered. The bathroom is engineering over embarrassment. For solids, a tiny seat, a liner, a fan, and a compactor. For liquids, a funnel and vacuum hose designed for any body. The station's life support treats water like treasure, scrubbing, filtering, distilling until it's drinkable again, and routing a portion to an electrolyzer that splits it into oxygen you breathe, and hydrogen that gets dealt with elsewhere. The loop is weird the first week and beautiful the third. It's how pallets of water stop riding rockets and how the cabin keeps breathing when resupply is weeks out. Breakfast is pouch cuisine. Thermostabilized mains, freeze-dried sides, and packets that come back to life with hot or cold water. Tortillas stand in for bread because crumbs are saboteurs. Coffee lives in a bag with a straw. It tastes better than almost anything you've had at 400 kilometers up. Soda doesn't fly, bubbles can't rise, so they stage an uncomfortable protest in your stomach. On Sundays, the crew makes pizza with tortillas, sauce, and every topping that survived the week. The whole station smells like home for an hour, and nobody pretends that doesn't matter. Exercise is non-negotiable. 2 hours a day or gravity will collect interest when you land. You strap into the treadmill so your footsteps don't send you into the air, spin the bike that refuses to tip, and meet ARED, a machine with vacuum pistons that simulates heavy weights for squats, deadlifts, and bench press. The routine keeps muscles honest and bones dense enough that stairs on Earth won't feel like punishment later. Sweat floats unless you catch it. Towels become as important as oxygen masks. Work lives in 3 streams: experiments, maintenance, and training.
The bubbles cluster
Microgravity turns familiar physics sideways, so fluid behavior reveals patterns you can't get on Earth. Protein crystals grow more perfectly for drug research, and plants learn to follow light instead of weight. You log your body as a data source: bone scans, vision checks, saliva samples, because biology is honest about what space does, and you need that honesty at scale for future missions. Maintenance is everything you do, so emergencies don't happen. Changing filters before they clog, vacuuming vents, reseating a connector that likes to sulk, and updating a software table because a sensor needs a better conversation with the flight computer. Training is rehearsal. Fire drills with masks on, pressure loss choreography to seal hatches fast, ammonia leak protocols on the US side, and shelter in spacecraft run-throughs for debris alerts. Repetition sands the edge off adrenaline. On EVA days, the station feels like a cathedral of procedure: suit fit checks, comms checks, cooling loop checks, battery checks, tool inventory, tether routing, contingency reviews. Each step closing one more door between you and a preventable mistake. The airlock equalizes, the outer hatch opens, and the world turns into black, blue, and the bright white of the handrails. You move deliberately, one tether always paid into the structure, your body a slow pendulum, your tool a small planet orbiting your wrist. Tasks read simple on paper: swap a unit, route a cable, release a stuck fastener. But your gloves blunt sensation, and the suit adds inertia to every choice. You do it slow because slow is smooth, and smooth is the only speed you want when the nearest floor is nothing. Between tasks, the station still needs a human touch. You wipe down areas where crumbs and skin cells like to gather, catalog a bag, relabel a cable tie because future you will appreciate the clarity, and scan a panel of status lights that, when green, feel like a lullaby. The soundscape is fans, pumps, the occasional click of a relay, and the shush of air through ducts. Silence is not the goal. Healthy systems make polite noise. Midday brings another meal that respects physics and patience. You add water to a pouch, knead it until the edges feel uniform, and cut a corner to eat without letting the contents become confetti. Someone shares a stash of hot sauce, and you discover spice works when aromas don't travel like they used to. A camera floats nearby for outreach photos. Because classrooms on Earth are waiting to see lettuce leaves doing cartwheels and tools pretending to be satellites, comms windows deliver email and headlines. It's easy to let the downlink dictate your mood, but you learn to set limits. You read what affects your job or your people, skip what only stirs, and spend the bandwidth on a call home. Laughter through a slight delay is still laughter. A friend tries to turn a catch-up into a comparison contest. You give the conversation 10 minutes and one prompt about something good, then you both stick to it. It works better than doom scrolling at orbital speeds. Afternoons rotate through experiment blocks. You mix fluids that look like art projects, install a cartridge in a box that wants to be a tiny factory, and check plant roots that found a new way to be sure of themselves without gravity's nudge. You write notes for ground teams who design those trials, your words turning into real-time choices about next steps. The station is a lab that remembers it is also a home, and the balance keeps both identities stable. When alerts come, they come with a tone you can't mistake. A debris conjunction pushes you and your crew into a safe haven drill. Close a list of hatches, strap into a spacecraft, run systems, wait for the updated trajectory.
Look at this.
The station has practiced this with you often
Wow,
enough
that
that
is
nobody
too funny.
confuses
I love
volume
you
with
guys.
urgency. When the all clear arrives, you reverse the steps in order and log the time you saved by labeling something 3 months ago. Toward evening, you run another maintenance task that won't look heroic in any highlight reel. You replace an air filter panel and vacuum the edges so dust can't pick a fight with airflow. You check the water processor's data and send down a note about a minor trend before it becomes an explanation. You tape a reminder by a stowage bag because labels age and Sharpies don't float to the right place on their own. Dinner is calmer. The crew gathers at a rack that doubles as a table and swaps stories you wouldn't write down because they don't scale. They just matter. Someone floats a guitar. The cord hits the ventilation current and wobbles charmingly on the way to your ear. A movie night starts, and sure, the plot competes with Aurora out the window, but shared attention might be the most protective device on the station. You keep screens from colonizing the last quiet minutes of the day. That's not anti-tech, it's pro-sleep. Before rack time, you tidy because tidy is speed tomorrow. You secure tools to the Velcro they've adopted, log your hours, confirm tomorrow's big blocks with the ground, and answer a message from a student who asked if space makes you braver. You tell them it makes you more prepared. The bravery comes from not needing to improvise as often. Your crew quarters are a phone booth with preferences. Photos Velcro to the wall, a laptop mounted where it won't drift into your face, a sleeping bag tethered so you don't play pinball at night. The lights dim along a spectrum that imitates sunset, and your brain accepts the lie because it's helpful. You zip in, slide your arms free, and let your shoulders remember what it's like to forget weight. If your nose feels stuffy, you prop your head a little higher in the bag. Fluid shifts are part of the deal until your body edits the script. On some nights, you drift to the cupola and let the earth pass under you like a calm, complicated story. Storms bloom like time lapses. Fishing fleets hide in grids no one drew on purpose, and mountain ranges throw shadows that refuse to care about politics. You don't stare for long, there's a bedtime and a clock that expects you at 6 Yuquanan again. The romance matters, but the routine keeps it possible. Every day here is a loop that turns into a ladder. You climb by repeating steps until they feel like second nature, not because the job is dull, but because the margin for clumsy is small. Checklists don't make you less human. They keep the human parts safe. The station survives on tiny good habits practiced by people who would rather succeed quietly than fail loudly. When your mission closes, you pack experiments for return, stow what won't ride down, and transfer the rest to a cargo craft with a one-way ticket to heat. You undock in a seat you know too well and feel the gentle exhale of separation. The plasma outside during re-entry paints your window with a fire you can't hear. Gravity negotiates your spine back into a contract it wrote years ago. Recovery teams ask questions your bones answer slowly. Nothing about this is spectacular to the people doing it, which is exactly why it works. The station won't last forever. It will retire with a plan and a burn that puts debris in a remote ocean, leaving room for new platforms to take over the jobs of hosting crews, running experiments, and maybe welcoming paying visitors. What stays is the recipe for making a machine into a place: shared time, clear labels, good loops, and the decision to treat small chores like life support, because they are. Tomorrow at 06 GMT, the lights will ease you awake, the fans will still be faithful, and the timeline will be waiting. The orbit will offer you 16 chances to call something sunrise, but you'll only take one. That's enough. You'll have work to do.